You're on the Six Screens Tele-Network, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to our program here tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time. In the program tonight, suicide prevalent in the Watchtower, how to avoid it. Friends, there is a major problem in the Watchtower organization, and they know it. Jehovah's Witnesses and, of course, ex-witnesses have committed suicide. Many ex-witnesses in particular have committed suicide because of the harsh shunning practices of the Watchtower. Well, we have a couple coming in here tonight. They've been out of the organization for about a year now. Their name is Fran and Joe. They're coming to us from out of New York. We're going to bring them on right now. So let me bring them on. Here they are. Hello, Fran and Joe.
Hello.
So there you are. So it sounds pretty provocative. I'm going to be listening intently. We do have your guest on the phone line with us. So I'm going to step out of the scene. And if you do need me, I'm here and I'll be glad to help you.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Hello, folks.
Hello. Good to see you again.
Yes. The topic tonight was suicide, and as negative as a topic that is, the most important part of the thing we want to talk about is avoiding that problem, preventing it, staying away from it, and then what to do if you find yourself slipping into that mindset. And I wanted to start just with an illustration. My first thought was, and some people may feel this, and it's a little crude of a saying, but suicide sucks. It's a very bad situation. There's nothing good about it. And I was thinking instantly of a situation of for example, literally something that sucks. This has to do with flies, house flies. If anyone has ever used a vacuum to catch house flies with a vacuum cleaner, you may have found different results. Maybe some that you can get them. The vacuum cleaner comes up, you get near, and you got that fly. It's gone, and you're happy. And there's another one, and you get that, and then there's another one, and you can't get it. It just keeps. You get close to it, and all of a sudden it's gone. And you get close to it again, and you can't get close to it. There must be something about that fly different from the others that knows how to avoid that. And it must be that it can sense whatever's going on a little better than the other, and it just gets away. And it stays away. You can't get near it again, and you just leave and figure, we'll get them later with something else or whatever. Well, that's flies, and we'll leave that topic alone for now. But the point is that fly got away safe, and we too want to get away and be safe from that terrible, terrible mind trap of suicide. We have some certain few things that we can talk about with that. The reason being is that it's so prevalent in the Watchtower with friends who either are still in or even people have gotten out. And it's higher than the normal population. So you might ask why. And some of the reasons that we've been explored was that people are left with a lack of purpose in their life. And maybe, Fran, you've got something you can share with that?
Yeah, I was going to bring up something else.
Okay.
Well, we were talking about finding meaning and purpose.
Okay.
Did you want to get into that now?
Let's talk a little bit about finding meaning, purpose in their life. And usually a young person, a very young, a child, doesn't think too much about that. They just don't. They don't even have time to think about what my purpose in life is. They're given the purpose. Their next purpose is to do something they like, and that's about it, which is a pretty good thing. See, that's a good start. They want to do something they like, or something that they need, something that their parents set out for them. Hopefully, it's something enjoyable. Hopefully. So they don't really think consciously about, I need purpose in my life. I need meaning. I need value. No, no. But there comes a point as they get a little older, they look around and they see some things around them that they don't possess. Maybe they say, oh, I want to do such and such like I see such and such. When I grow up, I want to be, etc. Or I want to be just like so and so. I think what they're doing is cool. Or, oh, I don't have that. Or, and they feel a certain need in their life. And it's a need for meaning. Their personal meaning. It's reasonable. They need it. They need to be helped to attain that meaning in their life, guided by people that love them, parents and other relatives who love them. They can easily avoid that, though. They can avoid it if their parents don't love them, or if they have no parents or any people that are in their life to support them. They may be abused. Their life is not going to have meaning or purpose by any means. Rather, it's going to be something that hurts. It's pain, something they need to get away from, and they don't know how to. And then, unfortunately, they may come up with a means to get rid of their life, just to get rid of the pain. Well, it's to be avoided. It is to be avoided.
Hey, Fran, it's Joe.
Hello, Trevor. Right now we're speaking about something that we have right there.
Well, just a little talking about the signs of suicide, and then we're going to get into how to avoid it. And we're going to have a guest come on and give her story. But there's 8 signs of suicide, and I was watching Lady C and JT, and they gave a few of them, but then they also gave the reference where they got it from. So really quick, just going through this. The first one is a feeling of hopelessness, helplessness, and worthlessness. So we may feel these things. It doesn't mean that we want to commit suicide, but these are just some of the things that could be a sign. Second one, expressions of having no reason for living, no sense of purpose in life. Saying things like, it would be better if I wasn't here, or I want out. Third one, withdrawal from friends, family, and community. Fourth, often talking or writing about death, dying, or suicide. Fifth, increased alcohol or drug misuse. 6, reckless behavior or more risky activities seemingly without thinking. 7, dramatic mood changes. And 8, talking about feeling trapped or being a burden to others.
Now, these things don't just happen in their life automatically. They usually develop. For the ones that are listening right now, most of us either are in the Watchtower or have left or are in the process of leaving. For our part, we had been in for 36 years. We had been fading for the past year. And just a few days ago, or yesterday?
Just
Yesterday, we hand in our call it dissociation. It was permission. Actually, it was permission.
I would like to see it.
Okay.
I would like to see the postcard.
Okay. Well, why don't we just listen for now, okay, guys? Right now, we're just listening, okay? And there won't no talking.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. There's no calling yet, so hang on. We because we've initially sent in a letter from our lawyer requesting that they don't ever mention our name. That was about a year
About 6
about
months
6
ago.
months ago, about
Mhm.
6 months ago. We're going through this period of readjusting things, and this has part to do with the avoidance of suicide and avoidance of desperate feelings. We needed time to readjust our supports,
Mhm.
to readjust the meaning in our life, the value systems that we had, that we had been relying on. It takes time to do that. It didn't happen all at once, and it's still going on. But finally, it got to the point where if we were to continue fading without leaving the organization, it was becoming more and more toxic for our health. It was becoming more and more dangerous and unacceptable for our life. And not only lacking meaning, but it was filled with things that are totally unacceptable, things that we couldn't control. And so at that point, we realized, it's time that we do something now. And so we handed in that letter. It was a letter of not only permission, granted them permission to mention our name at the hall, but also a request. We requested them to announce our name as no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever they say. And so that was our means of.
If I could interrupt you, we actually put it on a postcard.
Yeah.
We didn't even want to write a letter.
No.
Didn't want to give them that satisfaction.
No.
So we put it on a postcard. And we also texted our son-in-law, who's an elder, and one of the other elders. And the other elder called us back and he said, I got your text, but I just wanted to make sure that you really wanted to do this. And we said, yes, we did.
Yep.
And he said, well, we're going to miss you. We really love you guys, blah, blah, blah. And we had a few laughs even.
Yeah. And this is before that, though, one of the elders said, well, we'd like to arrange a time to talk with you. And I said, that's going to be absolutely unnecessary. We have no interest at all in getting together.
We didn't want to get back to the elders at all.
No interest at all. It won't be necessary at all, we told them. It says, we know what we're doing. We'd like you to go through with that. So at any rate, that felt good to do that.
It was a relief.
It was a relief because we wanted to relieve our family as well, our 4 children, of what they were going through, so that there'd be clarity and a certain finality to the situation, so that they weren't all left up in the air. See, the congregation was putting them under an arrangement that was just so. It was so unacceptable, where the only way we could get to our children was through my son-in-law, our son-in-law. And I said, that's totally unacceptable. I said, we don't want to put you in that position. We don't want to be in that position. We're going to put an end to this. And frankly, that, as far as I'm concerned, puts an end to that arrangement for everybody. And so now we're on to the next step. And that's kind of like what establishing a meaning and purpose in our life is. There's steps to it. And to say that it's without anxiety, I can't say that it is. It's with anxiety. There's the unknown. There's fear involved. Maybe certain disappointments. What else?
Yeah, it was very stressful.
Yeah, well, it's very stressful to maintain it, but I'm just saying, in order when you move out to do something like establishing your purpose, there's an unknown.
Right.
And see, that's one of the traps that we and other friends fell into at the Watchtower, is they make it look like all we have to do is follow and obey, and we'll be blessed.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that the song? Listen, obey, and be blessed. You see, it's as simple as that. But it's not. It truly is not. No. There's no short way to gaining purpose in our life. You're going to say something?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
There's no easy way.
Yeah.
And anyone that looks to them or anything like that for for the easy way out to finding purpose in their life is going to be fooled, is going to be used. And just like that one president said religion is a snare in a racket, and it's a snare for people who are looking for something like that. It's not found. Meaning is not to be found under those situations. And we did not find meaning.
No. So, did you want to bring Gail in now?
Yeah, Gail's here.
Yeah, Gail is on with us, and Gail's going to tell her experience of what she went through, and we can have some callers. Are you there, Gail?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Joe and Fran.
Hello, Gail. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm so inspired. First of all, I'm so inspired by what you guys have accomplished so far in such a short time, and just the courage that you're showing to leave your family out. You know, we've had discussions, and you've mentioned before that you're moving at this pace because you're trying to move them, show them the way that it is possible. And unfortunately, the subject that we're talking about, people do that because they don't think it's possible to leave with your dignity. And I'm here to tell you that it is absolutely possible. First of all, suicide is usually connected with mental illness. You'll hear people say, oh, they were suffering from depression, they were this, they were that, they had a mental issue. No, it's not. When you look at the teachings and what we grew up with, what we were taught to believe, that triggered a mental illness in us because we were learning things that go against, how a normal human thinks. Like, some of the things that we believed, I'm like, how did we ever believe that, So that in itself, and we all know that the organization has a high rate of mental illness because there's a dichotomy there. Your life doesn't add up to what you're being taught. And somewhere deep down inside, you know that something's not right about this. It's too far-fetched. It's too fantasy land, So first of all, we have to get rid of this stigma that you have a mental illness if you do have suicidal ideations, because first of all, it's not your fault. And if you are struggling with, the suicidal thoughts, stop and think, where are they coming from? Is this really you? And I know you guys want to take it in a positive way tonight. But where is this coming from? So you asked about my story. And honestly, there was divine intervention in my story somewhere because I was in therapy for other reasons about 1.5 years prior to my announcement. And I didn't see that for the gift for what it was until, some years after, like, wow, that night when they made the announcement that I was no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses, could have ended differently because I really believed. I went to the elders because I really wanted help. I went because I really thought I was going to get help. And instead, I was there for 5.5 hours. I was at the Kingdom Hall from 7 p.m. till about 12:30 the next morning. I was asked to leave the room twice to deliberate because they had more questions, or they didn't understand, or they, so finally they told me, well, we can't really tell if you're repentant or not. And I'm thinking in my head, that should have been the first trigger for me, What do you mean you can't tell? Where's Holy Spirit? Isn't he here? So that should have been the first sign for me, but it was. Hi, Gail. Hi.
Okay, let's hold off comments. Let's hold off from comments and let Gail talk. Go ahead, Gail.
Sorry about that.
So when, that could be a death sentence for people who still really believe in the organization, hearing the word the decision is to disfellowship. It really is a death sentence because you know what that comes with.
Yes.
You know that's going to come with an extended period of shunning. So you already, and if you're not prepared for that, you know, it can be devastating. So in the art, what I found interesting was that in the articles, when they showed that the elders are in the back room speaking with the people, and they talked to them about whatever sins they've been involved in, and they were pleading with them. What I found out, it's totally different. What goes on in the back room is totally different from what is portrayed in the Watchtower. So much so that a sister had asked me, she said, well, had they been working with you for a while and you just weren't being obedient or something like that, she said. And I'm like, no, that's not what happened. It was just multiple times over a series of years. And so it's like a 3 strikes and you're out kind of deal. So hearing those words, your disfellowship, really hit me like a bolt of lightning from the top of my head right through my heart. And I physically jumped because I was, after the second time they asked me to leave, I knew this was it. I'm like, yeah, this is it. It's over. So, but I thought I would appeal it, and I decided not to, but I went to the meeting the night of the announcement, and I held it together pretty well until about 3, and I came home, to an empty house. Until about 3 in the morning, I noticed I wasn't falling asleep, and I'm like, wow. There was a sister that I normally talk to on the phone after every meeting because she listens in, and I was like, wow, things are different. I can't pick up the phone and call this person or that person, and it all came flooding down. And so it was in that moment that I was reaching for my substance of choice, because I knew how much of this particular substance, I'd done the research before, that it was going to take to get the job done. When I reached for the bottle, I didn't have enough, because I didn't want to survive it. I didn't want to be like, take what I have and then survive. I didn't want it. I didn't want that. So, but this has a happy ending, guys, so follow me here. So my second thought was take what I have and then, go sit in the car and turn the car on or whatever. It was that much emotional pain. And suicide, I've heard, the pain that comes with it can be likened to a toothache, that you have nerve pain and you just want to yank it out to stop the pain. Well, what suicide does, taking your life does, it ends the emotional pain that you're going through, whether you put yourself in it or someone else put you in that emotional state of pain. And so, but in that moment, it wasn't an audible voice, but I heard, Gail, don't do this. This is not how it ends. Don't do this. And it was pleading with me. It was so soft. It was gentle. But because what I just went through, I stopped for a moment because I was, sitting on the side of my bed sobbing. And I stopped for a moment and I brushed it off. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm hearing the demons, but I brushed it off. But, and I did end up in the hospital that night. Or that morning, it was just like 4 in the morning now. I did end up in the hospital, and, they're asking me, what's wrong? Or is there family you can call? Is there a pastor we can call for you? Which made it worse, because now you realize your whole structure is gone. Everything was taken away from you. And my struggle in that moment was, how do I explain to these people that those people don't talk to me anymore? Like, I realized it was like I couldn't explain it. How do you explain it? So I just was shaking my head, yes, no. And because they couldn't get anything out of me, they ended up discharging me the next morning, like at 10 in the morning after I had gotten some sleep. So I was able to sleep for a little bit, and they discharged me. But I had to sign a notice that I wasn't going to harm myself or whatever. But I was still indoctrinated, and I was still committed to getting reinstated. So I kept going to the meetings for about 8 months. But 4 months in, I thought, all right, let me turn my reinstatement letter in, because when I went into the meeting, I was repentant when I went into the meeting. So I don't know how long you're supposed to wait. If I had my choice, I would have given them a letter a week later. But anyway, I waited, and I turned in the letter 4 months later, and no response. Then my dad, he had to pick up something from my house one day, and I opened the door to give it to him, and he, said that he heard I was going to the meetings, and he asked if I turned in my letter. And I said, yeah, I did about 4 months ago, but I haven't heard anything from them. And he got excited and said, well, write another one. And in that moment, I just went, no, I'm not going to beg.
That's right.
He got upset, threw his hands up in the air, turned and walked away. And in that moment, it switched. I'm like, this isn't love. This is not love. As a matter of fact, a year and a half prior that I was going to my therapist, he never knew that I was a witness. I never brought it up.
Wow.
She never knew. And even after the announcement, like maybe 6 months after the announcement, something happened. Like something was said from the stage that was to be kept in the meeting. You know how they tell you it's personal, it doesn't leave this room. Well, it did leave the room because it came out of the mouth of the circuit overseer. You know how they have those talks after someone's disfellowship? I'm like, oh, wow. I poured my heart out, and now here's the circuit overseer talking about it, right? So I felt betrayed. And so I went to my session, and I just broke down crying, and I told my therapist what happened. And she broke protocol, dropped her notebook or whatever, and came over and just started to cry with me and hug me and saying, he said, sweetheart, that isn't love. And I was like, wow, just hearing it from someone else solidified that, yeah, that wasn't love. So it was then that it started to all come together, like, okay, this is not love. This can't be the truth. I thought I would die for this organization. What would have happened that night if I went through with it? I can't do this anymore. So I told Jehovah, I said, I'm done. You can kill me at Armageddon. And if anybody knew me as a child, that was my one thing, that I was going to make it to paradise. I was deathly afraid of death. I didn't like going to funerals, blah, blah, blah. So, you do everything possible to stay alive. And that was my way of staying alive, was being truthful with the elders, was going, repenting, confessing when you have sinned, because you want to make sure you're in the paradise. I want to make sure I was there. I wanted to make sure my daughter was there. And so I lost my spot a little bit. So where was I? With the therapist?
Yeah, you went to the therapist, and she helped you to realize that they don't love you.
And you're done with it.
So I was holding on to that, to the thought of paradise, being there with my daughter. And then after everything that I experienced over that time, I realized, yeah, I'm done trying. I said, Jehovah, if this is what you want, then I'm done. You can kill me at Armageddon. And a peace washed over me as I said that. A peace just washed over me that I've never felt before. I slept like a baby that night, and I'm like, what? And so that's why when the pandemic started and everything started, and you hear of people going back, they still have that fear that this event is coming. And if you're on the wrong side of this event, then you won't be on the right side of paradise, right? And so when the pandemic came, I wasn't shaken by that one bit, because I had made my peace. I made my peace with Jehovah. And So looking back now, it was one of the best things that could ever have happened, because had I been just a reproved or something, I probably would be pioneering and, you know, still brainwashed. But I see it for the blessing that it is now. But for people who are in this position that know that if you speak up, if you say something, maybe you didn't do anything wrong, you just don't believe it anymore. But you know that the circumstances are going to be the same. The shunning is going to be the same. Letting go of the thought of family and community can be very difficult. And I feel for those people, because waking up is usually a rude awakening, guys. It's a rude awakening, and it's accompanied by back-to-back events. It's not like one event. It usually comes in multiples of 3 different events, from listening to other people, interviewing other people, listening to their stories, knowing my stories. It's like, wow, all these things, losses came back to back to back.
Wow.
And so if you're going through something like that, please know that you're not alone, that intervention is there for you. Intervention, you know, people are here for you that can help you through it. There's nothing wrong with you. You are worthy. You are, you know, you're valuable. You're not worthless. And someone is going to miss you if you are not here with us anymore. You will be missed. So I want to send this plea out that, first of all, one of the things we need to do is deconstruct from this man-made construct, because it's a prison. The construct of the religious system that we were born in is an invisible prison, if you think about it. And some people don't know how to react once they're out, once they have freedom. They don't know how to react, and, you know, kind of spiral down or whatever. But also, on the other hand, only you know what you're able to withstand. Like Joe and Fran, you know, if you've listened to the show for some time, you guys really struggled with, do we do the letter? Do we have them disassociate or disfellowship us because we don't want our kids to find out? Or, you know, you really were hanging on to that for a while, and to see where you are now, that you finally handed in your letter, giving them the go ahead to and the permission to make this announcement, is really a brave move. And it shows people, it's going to make them question, well, wow, can I do that too? Yes, you absolutely can. But only you know what you can take, because there are people, you know, that are physically in, mentally out. That is another form of torture too. For whatever reason, they're not able to leave right now. So I say, don't do anything that you're not able to, you can't cope with. You know, don't make any rash decisions right now.
Gail, thank you. That was so brave of you. I have to pick up on something you said when you said you had peace.
Okay.
When did you first say you felt peace?
When I told Jehovah I was done.
Yes.
I'm like, if this is what you want, I'm done.
Yep.
You can kill me at Armageddon.
See, it was
that statement.
It was your decision. It was your decision. It was your control. Whereas previous, everything else was control outside of yourself that you were accepting. There you took control, and you had peace with it.
Gail, I think you mentioned to us too that you didn't know that there was an XJW community out there when you first came out. How did?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yes, I did not know. So I probably woke up about March or April, but I didn't actually leave until June. And part of the reason that kept me in longer than I wanted to be was, you know, looking around, really saying goodbye to these group of people, some of them that I really liked, some of them that I grew up with, but just looking around, saying goodbye, knowing that this is it. Or also too, I couldn't really find any examples of anybody that left and successfully made it.
Mhm.
I had none. I had no idea about the XJW community on YouTube, on Facebook, Reddit. What is that? Had no idea. So in my mind, I was really taking my own life into my hands, which goes along with this other thought that we talked about the other day. You know, one of the teachings that keeps us in this mental religious prison is we're taught to disown yourself.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Disown yourself, pick up your torture stake and follow Christ.
Right.
And I typed that into jw.org because I was trying to find the article but we hear it all the time. We studied it all the time. It is actually going to be a study at the meeting in February sometime.
Mhm.
And the title of the talk is, Whose Thoughts Are You Thinking?
Mm-hmm.
And the bullet points are disown yourself, pick up your torture stake, and follow Christ. So it's telling you right there, it's brainwashing you to thinking that don't think your own thoughts. Like Dan was saying, don't think your own thoughts. Dan said earlier, like, what's that? How do I think for myself? They're telling you, don't think your own thoughts.
No, they
Disown
don't.
yourself. And so part of my recovery was finding myself again.
Right.
Part of my healing was finding myself again. And, therapy was a big part of that. But I will never forget that voice that night that intervened, even though I brushed it off
Yeah.
for a few minutes, for a few months, I brushed it off because I really thought, it was the demons.
And
It always stayed with me.
if I can interject at this point, Gail, and this is where all of us, and you discovered it at that point. It was a discovery. You discovered that you are so much more than you know.
Mhm.
You are so much more than you know. You are so much more than that organization ever taught you. You're so much more. And you discovered it.
Yeah. Right.
And there's more. And there's more. And see, normally a child growing up comes to learn that in little steps and stages. These little, oh, I'm this, or oh, I can do that, or oh, I've got a voice, or oh, I can run, or oh, they find out they're more than what they knew. And it builds and builds.
Yeah.
Well, the organization totally squashes that.
Mhm.
In fact, we went through it with one of our daughters where when the society would tell them that, you need to be doing more, everyone needs to be doing more in order to be approved and accepted. Are you doing enough? Well, she struggled with it. She was young. She was 10, 11, 12, and she was going through a depression
Yeah.
because of that. And I said, you can't listen to that for what they're saying to you. They don't mean what you think. But see, she was taking it personal,
Mhm.
which so many people do. And they grow up with this self-reducing kind of attitude, and it's not how we build strength of our own character.
We listened to, I don't know if anyone knows Jordan Peterson. He's a doctor, he's a clinical psychologist. And one of the things he says is to say things that make you strong.
Right,
Am I
exactly.
quoting you?
Yes, exactly.
Say things that make you strong. And so if you're in the habit of saying, I'm worthless, I'm no good, I'm not doing enough, even after people leave the Watchtower, they've left the organization, but they haven't left that mindset.
Right.
So we need to say things that make us strong.
Yeah. And that means changing what you say to yourself, because everyone does that to some extent. Or, oh, that was dumb. Or if you did something that was wrong. Or, oh, I can't do anything right. Now, wait a minute. If I can't do anything right, that's not good. Well, it's not true. So you say something, what I did was wrong. I know I can do better.
Mhm.
I'm going to watch more. I'm going to get this right.
Yeah.
If it takes all day, I'm going to get, and you feel better. And we need to do that. Well, the society will never teach a person to do things like that. They're healthy. And the reason why is because they don't want people being strong.
Right.
They want weak people so that they can dominate and control them. And I give everyone credit who's listening to this tonight, or anyone who's XJW, or anyone that's PMO, or anyone that's questioning, because you are more than you know.
Mhm.
And there are people out there that need you to be more than you know. And that's how we establish our worth with each other.
Yeah, so one of the
If
coping,
I may, Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If I may, I do have a plea for the elders. You know, elders that are listening,
Yes.
governing body members that are listening. You have
Yes.
blood on your hands.
Yes.
You have blood on your hands. Wake up. Stop ruining people's lives. Wake up. Repent. Say you're sorry. Do what you have to do to save yourself, because you know they have this campaign going. If you don't go in service, you have blood on your hands. No, they have blood on their hands.
I know.
The amount of people that have taken their lives
Yeah.
for this religion, you know, and we're tired of hearing it. And that's what gives us the passion, gives me the passion, gives me the drive to
Good.
continue doing the work that I'm doing.
Good.
You know, all activism is good. And activism comes in many forms.
Mhm.
The way you choose to do it is, you know, is what's comfortable for you. But it all helps because people think, oh, you're out now. Why don't you just go on with your life? No, because we need to be that beacon of light. Like here, survival is over here. You know, life is over here. We're showing them where the light is.
Mhm.
And so that's my driving force, is because I'm so thankful to still be alive.
We are
You-
thankful you're alive too, Gail.
See, Gail, you are needed. You
Yeah.
are needed for others who are struggling. And those who are struggling can follow in your path and become helpers for the others. And this is what we're all about.
Healing is possible. Healing is.
Oh, yes.
Healing throughout helping others heal. That's the only way.
Yeah, the key things that I heard Gail say is that you had already been going to a psychiatrist.
That was good.
Number one, you knew enough to call the hospital
Yes.
when you were in that crisis
Wow.
situation. So you turned to someone that had more strength than you did. And then you continued looking for support and you found the XJW community.
If I can relate a situation, Gail, that shows that we need sometimes to rely on something outside of ourselves.
yeah.
That's what you've been doing every inch of the way, and that's good. At one point, this is in regard to an elder. In fact, this is an elder who basically tricked us, recruited me into the organization. I was open. I didn't want to be. I chose to start attending for the family's sake, because I felt, well, maybe it'll be good for them. And so I did. Well, at any rate, in the beginning it wasn't bad, but it had slowly become more and more oppressive, and elders were becoming more and more unshepherd-like. And every time they said that the elders are shepherds, I said, that's an absolute distortion. They are not shepherds. They are the furthest thing from shepherds. They are enforcers. They're corporate enforcers. And you discovered that, and so many others are listening right now have discovered that. Well, for that one person who brought us in like that, he also spoke to my family, my children, and basically turned our children away from us without any permission from me. He saw fit to turn them away
He
from us.
warned them about us.
Yeah. And that is so absolutely disrespectful of my role as a father. He had absolutely no respect for those bounds. And in my heart, in fact, I told it to Fran. This was about a week ago.
This was right after we heard the suicide murder in
Yes.
Colorado. Okay.
Yes, I said, I'm going to ruin that man. And there are ways to ruin a person. I'm not going to go into it now, but there are ways you can ruin a person. If you want to ruin a person through their reputation, through rumors, et cetera, there are ways you can ruin a person. Well,
witch trial.
I went to bed that night and I said, I really don't feel good being this way. I don't want to know that myself. I don't want to be reduced to that sort of person. So I woke up in the morning and I had a better idea. And the idea is I will get help. I will call the troopers. So I did. I called the state police and I let them know that I was concerned of my health because I hadn't been heard from her in 2 months. We hadn't heard from her in 2 months. Normally we would.
3 months?
So 3
More like
months.
3
Okay,
months.
3 months.
Yeah.
So at that point I said, that's it. That's it. I'm bringing in force outside and help outside of ourselves. I can't rely on just myself. I need help outside of myself. And I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did too.
In fact, a woman, state trooper, answered and she asked if I had called. I said, yes. She doesn't answer. Well, have you because she sees our caller ID. She said, you can dial *67 and that blocks your caller ID. Didn't know that. But she said, then she asked, would you like me to call for you? I said, yes, please. She did, got back to us, related to us that she was okay, but differences, blah, blah, blah. But at any rate, I thanked her. But I did tell her who they were, what they were, their witnesses, what's going on, their shunning. There's high rate of depression and suicide and violence associated with the cult. And I needed to contact someone who needed to know what was going on.
And you felt better.
Yeah. In other words, it's like being a child who's being sexually molested for the first time. They're totally disoriented. They have no clue what's happening. They're stunned. They do not know what's happening to them. They don't know how to react. And the pedophile knows that. They power over them because of that. So until that person knows what's happening, knows what to do about it, they're gonna continue to be controlled like that. They need desperately, and we all need desperately, to learn what has happened to us. What is the effect? What can I do about it? I've got to do something about it. I need to get help in doing something about it. And every step of the way, when we do things like that, we feel better, and we feel better, and we feel better. And it's a constant unfolding process. And it takes a period of time.
Oh.
And then something amazing happens. You learn to like yourself, and then you learn to love yourself. And you realize there's nothing wrong with me. I actually like who I am because, you know, we were under constant brainwashing of never enough, like you said. I need to do more. I need to do more. I'm so tired. I need to do more. I need to be worthy. Mm-hmm. But when you start to like yourself and then you love yourself and fall in love with yourself,
yeah, that's so true, Gail.
There's difference in the world. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, could I ask a question? It's Roland from the UK. I'm just wondering if you're listening with interest, and I've just been in hospital myself, actually, in this psychiatric hospital, and this is due to issues that I had as a JW. I have bipolar, and it was I think mainly triggered by them. I lost my wife and son, but I didn't get a chance to grieve properly. Anyway, what I want to ask is, you said about having therapy, and you found that worked. I've been offered therapy, but I was a little bit unsure because I just think, you know, if you haven't been a JW, how can you possibly understand what they're like? And most therapists, of course, they're not JWs or have not had any dealings with them. How did you find it?
Yeah, like I said, I was going for other reasons a year and a half prior, and so I learned some coping methods. The method of therapy that she used is called EMDR, and it's a rapid eye movement desensitization or something. To where,
oh, right, yeah.
And this is what's fascinating about it, Jeff. You said Jeffrey is your name? Roland, I'm sorry. Yes. Roland, this is what's fascinating about EMDR, that you don't have to express the negative thoughts that you're having, because there are therapists, you know, there are not many religious therapists or therapists that are equipped to handle this kind of thing. And I learned that quickly from my therapist. So she would give me a sheet of paper to identify the negative emotion that I was dealing with at the time. So I would identify, I'm not worthy, or I'm hopeless, or, you know, something like that. And so then she would start the machine. It's like a 2 pulses that you hold in the palm of your hand. And tapping works the same way. And so you think about the negative thought, identify where in your body is that thought stuck. And then I'm trying to remember how it goes, but then there is the positive cognition that goes along with it. So on the sheet of paper, you have the negative cognition, and then you have the positive cognition, and then you work towards the positive. So let's say you start the session at a 10. It's very intense. This negative emotion is very intense. And then you work through the positive, and she'll work with you until it comes down to a 3, to where it doesn't bother you anymore. Mm-hmm. So that was the form of therapy that I was in. Like I said, I don't even remember how I found her. But because I didn't want to tell her I was a witness. How am I going to tell her in Disfellowship, and my family can't talk to me, you know? But this EMDR form of therapy was absolutely life-saving. So I understand what you're saying, Roland, that, you know, because it can be frustrating if you're trying to explain to a therapist that has no idea how damaging religion is.
If I can add to that, Gail, Roland.
Yeah, sure.
We also went to a therapist
right in the beginning. Yeah.
And in fact, he did know about witnesses.
And he did know about suicide.
So they do. And if they don't, ask them, are you familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses? Let me tell you, if they're not, anyone can get a crash course in what Jehovah's Witnesses are going through with a half an hour on the internet. It really doesn't take that much. Now, if you feel still that they're not that comfortable or sensitive to it, you know, find another one.
Yeah, there's plenty out there.
But they know what's going on with them. It's very cult. They understand the cult nature of it, and you need one that understands that.
Matter of fact, we're going to go.
I made the ultimate, you know, I committed the ultimate sin of allowing my wife to have blood. I mean, both her and the baby still died, but, you know, I had 2 young children. I couldn't come back to the children, and I mean, they was 8 and 6 years old at the time, 2 girls, and I couldn't come back to them and say, you know, Joe, I didn't want your mum to have blood, so she's died, you know, because without the blood, she'd have died the same night. I mean, she lasted a few months as it happened, and then died. But, you know, I still keep going back to that moment when I was in the hospital and having to think about the fact I was a Jehovah's Witness. What would happen if the elders found out, which they did. They then said to me, well, we won't do anything, but Jehovah will probably get a resurrection, you know. So I stayed in the Jehovah's Witnesses simply because I wanted my children to be witness, them to have a chance of resurrection, although I thought I'd blown my chance. And all what I did was never good enough for them. hours and hours of ministry. That was never good enough for them. You know, whatever I did, and they would put me down. They would put me.
Roland, there's absolutely no help that the witnesses are going to give you. Number one, they will. So I wouldn't look to anything that you know about to
Frank,
give any
Joe,
help.
if I may speak up before I lose my train of
Sorry, I mean, when I did try to commit suicide while I was in hospital once when I was a Jehovah's Witness. I had I wouldn't do it knowingly because I've got my family, I've got my girls, but I have psychosis, and what I was seeing was these angels. Me that the witnesses were right. I was no good. I shouldn't have allowed me. I'd committed the ultimate sin of allowing my wife to have blood, etc., etc. Basically, they was telling me to kill myself. Next thing I know, I've got a resus team around me. I'm waking up, and you know, and apparently I was unconscious. You know, my heart stopped. But luckily, a nurse had. You said about divine intervention earlier on, and I think this was divine intervention because I'd had a nurse just check on me. She said I was sat on the bed. She didn't think there was anything particularly wrong. She went downstairs because the rooms were upstairs at the time in hospitals, and she went downstairs and she couldn't settle. She came back up and she found me hanging by the neck over the door. There was a sheet I put over the door, and then I was following a lady into the sea. And the thing is, you know, which is all, but again, I thought it was an angel, you know, but it's all Jehovah's Witness related. And if I'd have had time to grieve properly, which I didn't, and if they hadn't been sort of hassle all the time and making me feel worthless, you know, I probably wouldn't have been, I got bipolar, but I did, you know, and unfortunately now, you know, even now I've left the Jehovah's Witnesses, there's still stuff there. I'm still having bad dreams. I'm still, you know, and sometimes the bipolar is triggered and that's it. I'm back into the psychosis and
trauma.
You know, so I just wondering how the therapy would work. So thank you for that.
The trauma, the trauma.
May I speak with Gail, please?
Yeah, is that? Go ahead.
I just want to say something to Roland. Roland, real quick. Roland, if I may.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for speaking up and being vulnerable to tell us where you are. But I did notice that you said I have, right? So it's almost like you're claiming it. And I would want to ask you to not say that you have, like, don't take ownership of it. You're in a bipolar state of mind right now. And that's because like you said, you haven't had a chance to grieve, but you have two opposing thoughts that are fighting with each other. You know something is wrong, but you're still fighting for what you're taught to believe. So your mind is battling, and those thoughts have put you in a bipolar state of mind. You don't have bipolar, you don't own it. It's not yours, and we throw it away. So maybe, just like changing up the words, does that kind of make sense a little bit? Like, don't own it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Multiple personality disorder.
Yes, so your words will make the difference. See, back to the words that make us strong. Now, I dare say, Roland, that other phrase and statement probably doesn't make you feel very strong when you say, I have. For example, if I said, I have a bad leg, it doesn't make me feel very strong. Well, it's a physical thing. I have a bad leg. But as far as situations that are these things that they call diseases, I would be very careful of owning them, because they're suggestions, and they're bad suggestions sometimes. We're stronger than we know. We're more than we know. We're stronger than we know. We have to give ourselves that benefit. And unfortunately, these named diseases don't give us any benefit. They don't.
Right.
So anything you can do.
In fact, I want to speak over you, Roland, that every day you're getting better and better. And you can say that to yourself. Every day I'm getting better and better.
Yeah,
You are
thank
not
you.
bipolar. You don't have bipolar. I am getting better and better.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Very much appreciate all that. So help me know, and thank you.
Yeah, Roland, you've gone through a lot. We've all, in our own way, we've all gone through a lot. So the goal is to realize, what is exactly did I go through? What does it mean to me? What can I do about it? Whose help can I get? Who went through it successfully? How can I be like them? How can I go on and help others who are like that? We need to project ourselves in that positive way ahead of ourselves. We live in our future. We have to make it the kind of future we want to live in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're in such a position to help other people too. So keep up the good work, and anytime you want to call us, we'll put our number
we're here,
up.
Roland.
We have people calling
We're
us.
here.
We kind of connect people with other people.
There's so many friends.
You're more than welcome to call.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll probably.
Yes.
Thank you.
Guy, you were in there. Did you want to jump in, Guy?
Oh, I just wanted to add into the suicide and mental health thing. I'm thankful that I have personal supported livings. From an autistic person's point of view, social norms can compare and contrast. You can see how the social norms of the outside world differ from the social norms in the JW culture world. They get mixed up socially. Like for example, in one culture group, it's okay for me to caress a woman on the butt, but on the most part, it's offensive. Cultures do vary worldwide, depending on the religion.
Well, then it's good to be aware of what our cultural norms are. It's so good to be aware of them. And to the extent that we stay within them, we're accepted. It is different. Earthwide, it really is different. And I will say the norms that the Jehovah's Witnesses have established are absolutely toxic for people. There's no two ways about it. That's everything that's being proven, that they are toxic for people. And now the goal is for people to learn how to avoid the toxic relating, or the toxic involvement. Look, it's a trick. It's a trap. It's a snare. The animal wanted food. He didn't go into the trap because he wanted the trap. He went to the food. He didn't see the trap. He needs to get out of the trap. He needs someone to help him get out of the trap. And then he needs to never go back to the trap. He needs to identify it. He needs to warn other his friend animals, watch out for that trap. Then that's what he has to do the rest of his life. And that's he's found his purpose in life. And for us, for ex-witnesses, as far as I'm concerned, Fran and I, that is our purpose, to help others to avoid that trap, to get out of it, to, as some say, deconstruct, to construct their lives, to build a purpose, and to go forward in helping others build purpose.
Joe and I were talking about it the other day. If we didn't get involved with Jehovah's Witnesses in the first place, we wouldn't have all these new friends that we have, real friends, and also real purpose. We would have just gone on doing whatever we did, and we would never have met you folks. And our world has been opened up to us.
Yeah, the worst 36 years of my life are the years in Jehovah's Witnesses. The best times are now, meeting ex-witnesses who truly love, and who can care for each other and who can go on to care for others. That's and that's it doesn't make, to say it makes 36 years worthwhile. No, it was a waste.
Yeah.
In that respect. Those 36 years could have been spent so much better, but now there's a very good way that we need to spend our lives, and I appreciate the people that we're spending it around now. You, Roland, Gail, and Guy, and any others listening.
Can I add a comment?
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
I was just going to say, I always feel like that it's good to have stories because I'm an ex-JW from Rhode Island, living in Nashville. And I personally knew two people who committed suicide from the religion or cult. I call it a cult all the time.
It's a
Yes,
call.
it is.
Barely a religion. Yeah, but one man, he was disfellowshipped 4 times. And coming upon the 5th time, he hung himself. My wife, she also was of a 4th generation, born in as myself, and her aunt committed suicide from being disfellowshipped 3 times.
Oh, dear.
Horrible.
It's a hardcore thing to go through, and both my wife and I are labeled as apostates, and nobody will even speak to us. I was in the hospital with internal IG bleed, where I possibly would need a blood transfusion, but I didn't. And I called my family, and they wouldn't pick up the phone. This is a brutal organization that has, like, they fulfill scripture and prophecy where it says they would have no natural affection, and that's exactly
true. That's it. Totally agree. Totally agree. Absolutely.
So how long have you been out?
I'm disgusted. I just wanted to say one more point, and I'll be quiet. But
we're listening. We're
when
listening.
When I was a pioneer, the service group one time, we were all talking in the car, and this is a mix of people like myself, another young brother, and 2 older women, and we were all talking about how suicide was rampant in the disfellowshipping community, and it's like the people were saying that's what happens when you leave Jehovah, and that is so disgusting.
Yeah, that's their go-to.
I know.
You didn't leave God; you left our organization.
That's right. That's right.
How long have you been out?
I have been out for a total of, I've been disfellowshipped twice for smoking weed, and I've been out for a total of 14 years. But I was a POMO at one time, or excuse me, physically out, mentally in. I was a physically out, mentally in for a while.
Yeah.
And that's the roughest place to be.
Yeah. So true.
It's out, and you think you have to come back and grovel to them.
Yeah.
Then I finally woke up. After so much abuse, you get abused by the elders over and over again. You're like, okay, this is not.
What broke that attraction for you?
Say it again.
What broke that attraction, that connection for you?
When when my wife and I were trying to come back, we had she has had 5 reinstatement letters. I have had 4. I gave up on the 5th. I'm like, screw this, and she gave up too. All right. I'll tell you what did it. And specifically, the elders, when my wife was trying to get reinstated, I mean, I was already done, but we were both trying to come back as chemos. We were both faking and pretending to listen into the meetings, but we weren't doing it. Yeah. And like we would tie in, and they would accept that. And I tried to get reinstated just to have my family back. But what ended up happening was there was a time period where they said we're not doing any reinstatements right now. And I'm like, what? You're not reinstating? How do you not reinstate? because of COVID. I'm like, no. And I got upset and I said, I am pissed off at this. This is not right. They slandered me and they told me that I had abusive speech just because I said the word pissed.
Oh,
No, goodness. Wow.
So then on top of all of this, I bailed out of it. And then my wife continued to keep going to the meetings, and she did. She got reinstated. And then my wife gets a phone call. The announcement's going to be made that she's going to be reinstated. And we get a phone call from her parents. And the elders told her, don't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody you're getting reinstated. Okay, she didn't. But she gets a phone call from her parents. Now, her parents only call her when someone dies, and she was afraid her dad died because he's obese and could die of a heart attack at any moment. So she didn't know how to handle it. And she left a text message. It was very long and elaborated. And she said it in one point in the text message that Jehovah God is not happy with the governing body. Guess what? The mother-in-law, my mother-in-law, her mother and father didn't even tell her. They copied the text message and sent it to the elders, and now she can't get reinstated.
Oh,
That's my story.
jeez.
Wow.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Our son did the same
The
thing.
corruption. They want members so much, but they kick them out.
No,
They won't let us back in.
no,
No,
it's
it's a horrible.
it's
And I don't want to be back in.
no, exactly. Why would you? You see, in other words, we have 4 children who are in. Some would say, they would say that we should want to be back in for our family, etc. But no, it's a toxic relationship. I don't care what it is. I want to show that it's toxic. It's to be avoided, rather than cater back to them to get what they want to give. No, it's wrong. And unless we sent that clear message, they would never get that message.
And people go back for their families because they want to be with their families. But if the family's loyalty is to the organization, then it's really not love. And that's what we had to face, that our children really had more love for that organization than they had for us. It's a brutal awakening, but you have to accept it. And maybe someday they'll wake up.
Yeah, no,
we have to do what we have to do.
and we're keeping the door open for them.
Right.
But we're not.
I just wanted to say too that although I'm not suicidal, I greatly am affected from depression from this, and I fight alcoholism all the time, and I know there's a lot of other people out there too, because it's just when you have your life ripped away from you, how do you deal with it?
Well, there's different ways.
Alcohol's a way. I'm not encouraging it at all. I'm just saying.
No, I know you're not.
You know, people get broke. People get broken from it.
I know you're not. As with anything, it's like tools in our toolbox. In most cases, we probably don't have the right tools or skills in our toolbox to take care of whatever is broken on us. We probably don't. Well, more than ever, that's the time to research. What do I need? Who can help me? How do I get it? I need it.
But the tools we have are good people like you all, and people who can acknowledge this abuse that goes on in the organization. And I just wanted to conclude with that. Thank you all.
And I appreciate it, but I want to assure you that one next positive new thought that you gain could open up everything for you. So keep your ears open and keep looking.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yes, come on. Yes.
Thanks y'all, and I appreciate you. And I just wanted to just say one last thing, that I do the sticker campaign, and I post stickers all over where Jehovah's Witnesses put up their carts. I crash their carts. I'm not mean. I just give points, and even if people don't have a YouTube channel, I know there are people out there like myself that are putting the word out there, and the more that we stick it to Jehovah's Witnesses, just not to be rude, but just to tell them the truth of the truth,
Yes.
and just spread the message out there, because the more they hear it, the more they're going to investigate it and look it up on Google and see the Australian Royal Commission or whatever. But thank you, y'all. I really enjoyed your program.
Well, look, listen, man, I'm glad you're doing it. Think about it. What if every one of us did something like that in our own community? Every one of us, if we did that. Well, that's what we need to do.
I know. That's what I've been telling my wife, because she's an ex too, and it's like if all of us joined in together, we would drown them out.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, don't be a stranger and keep at it.
Yeah, for someone with autism, I do tend to like taking different facts from different points of view and stuff. Plus, you have Pinterest. You could see I'm into biography of the millennium, since I'm into world history, and I really believe that we are the ones making history. The XJW women their stories should be told as National Women's History Museum figures. They can be in the category will be religion and world peace.
I like the way you think on that, Guy. I truly do, because I think it's heroic what the sisters who are coming out are doing. It truly is, and I think we need to see that, and we will see that more and more with each other.
Yeah, since Albert Einstein had Asperger's, autism, Asperger's, and Sir Isaac Newton too.
Yeah. Was there someone else who was calling in there?
Yeah, this is Angela calling in, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Angela?
I'm doing good. I'm sorry about that.
Go ahead, Angela. Did you have something?
I was just going to say, I listened to a lady one time that gave a really great presentation on, she basically said that there were two types of suicidal type people. There's the passive ones and then the eminent ones. And so she broke it down into divisions, but she said that she thought that it was important to start with validating the person's emotions and expressing your own genuine concern, and then showing empathy and empathizing with a person with their feelings, that can matter and go a really long way.
That's
and then
beautiful.
she said, you could say something like, "It sounds like you're really struggling. Can you tell me more about it? I like to listen and help where I can," and something like that. And then try your best not to argue with them at all when they say negative things, just to, no matter how dire it sounds, and just to keep positive, trying to do positive reinforcement while still acknowledging that their current emotions are real and fair. And then say, you feel hopeless right now. We'll get you the help you need together. You're not alone. It's trying to encourage that they're not alone. And then to, of course, encourage them to get professional help. And then this was interesting. She said about the safety plan, to speak with the person about who they will contact if their suicidal thoughts and depression symptoms begin to escalate. And this list will likely include, have friends or relatives, maybe a professional, and maybe even have down on your list a 24-hour suicide hotline and make sure they have the number, and then to ask the tough question of, do you have a plan? Have you ever attempted before? And do you feel as if you could do something to hurt yourself right now, today? Those tough questions that people are afraid to ask. They said, you don't need to worry. It's not going to escalate. They're wanting to commit suicide, but ask the tough questions.
Right.
And say, are you scared to be alone right now?
Right.
And just ask those, dig in. And then the eminent people that you feel they're really serious. Someone's expressing a desire to die, in the near future, or I'm going to kill myself. Particularly if they're if they have spoken of having a plan and a way and a timeline. If they have words like that, it's imminent, and that you should call 911 and the nearest emergency service unit immediately.
and don't leave the person alone. Make sure that you can that they're escorted by a trusted person to the emergency room or wherever, the mental health care crisis center. And if you can't be with them, to call somebody who can get access to them, to be sure to remove their guns, knives, medications, alcoholic poison, things that they might do to try to, physically get the job done, just to, get
That's
somebody
quite,
to do it as you
yeah,
can.
that's
Yeah,
such a help.
anyway, that's pretty much it.
That's such a helpful, extensive list. And that's a good frontal approach. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist who dealt with that a lot. And I truly like the approach that he said. He already acknowledged the person's difficulty, and he said, but look, is there anything you ever wanted to do in your life that you haven't done yet? What is there that you always wanted to do in your life but haven't done yet? How about making plans for doing that? Why don't you plan on doing that? See, because the fact is the person obviously is in severe deficit, and so this at least helps the person establish something that they've always never done yet, and he said it truly helps a person to focus in on something that they personally wanted instead of something that they're trying to get rid of.
I love that. And then the other one too, I forgot, we talked about this earlier, was that to say things like, besides what you just said, is, well, what about your cat? What will happen to your
Right.
cat?
We heard that one.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Get it real grounded in the present, and because they start thinking, oh my gosh, what about your sister? What about you? Didn't you say you had a sister? What will she do? I mean, didn't you say that she depends on you an awful lot? I mean, what will she
at that point, though, at that point, the focus is on themselves. The focus is self, and the person truly at that point needs something far greater than they. And see, and I'm going to bring it all back to the Watchtower. The Watchtower not only stole that from people who were trying to achieve it, but they also prevented young ones from determining, from coming up with what they would need to achieve. And that truly needs to be worked at. People, every one of us needs to work at that and to help each other work at that.
Yeah, because we all need to feel needed. That's like a basic human need, right? To feel needed, and like you said earlier, and to have a purpose. And so, I think there's a lot of witnesses, Dan and I know, that have they feel they're absolutely alone, that they don't have anyone at all to talk to. And so, all you really can encourage them to stay alive for is something like their cat, or I don't know, just, what will you do about the old lady next door that you've been going over and helping? What will she do? Just try to jerk them into reality instead of the demonic thoughts to just end it all. And but I think value is so important. I think so many people I know that they just don't think they truly don't think they have a purpose or any reason to live, that nobody really needs them. Nobody really wants them. No one would ever know. They don't care. But we have to step it up and say, well, wait a minute. I am here for a reason on this earth. And like you said, have I fulfilled why I am here on this earth yet? And if not, what is it I've always dreamed of doing? Like you said earlier, what have I dreamed of doing? And why couldn't you still do it? Like if you just absolutely love music, why not take a guitar lesson? Or if you really love animals, why don't you go down to the animal shelter and volunteer? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just to try to do that thing that you feel that you're on this earth maybe to do, and try not to forget that you do have something valuable to give to this earth. And why couldn't you try it? Why couldn't you try and write a song or whatever it is? So anyway, there were a couple more things
Angela,
about judgment.
great. Okay, now, in a really practical way, what about people in our own community? How would we recognize them? How maybe they're right around us. Let's see. Has anybody found how to connect with other exes in your community? We're finding it hard. I could ask the elders, but I don't think they're going to tell me.
Right. Well, there's meetups, right? The meetups that you can.
Sure.
Yeah, we started a Facebook page. We found a couple people that are close by.
Yeah.
We, so we're working at it. It just takes time.
Yeah.
Have
Gail,
you
you still there?
have you heard about setting up the meetups online? You know, you join that group called Meetup.
Yes. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
But we're probably not working it as well as we should.
No. I got 15
Could I
members.
share a point, guys?
Hello.
Yeah, I'd like to share a point. Yeah, I just want to say that, when you come out of there, one thing I do is I make videos and I describe what it feels like.
Yes.
Like, my God, when I came out of there, it was like a house divided against myself.
Yes.
I actually think it was a program, to self-destruct because, there was no hope for me. I felt exactly. Who's the lady that's interviewing right now? Gail. I said the same thing as Gail when I came out. See, there's a scripture that they read over and over. I don't know if they still read it, but it says if you know how to do right and you do wrong, you've grieved the Holy Spirit, and there's no forgiveness left for you.
That's
so
terrible.
We had if you left, that's where the gnashing of your teeth and the crushing of your head would be under Jehovah's feet. You're a pig returning to a mire. So when you left, you leave with all that programming. The only difference is you were alone. My experience was driving down the road, and my inner house, my inner self, kept thinking that Jehovah was going to reach his hand over. I was in a convertible, and I thought Jehovah was going to reach over the mountain, reach in my car, and yank me out. And I had all my brothers saying, Jehovah's going to kill you. Jehovah's going to kill you.
Yeah.
And so you don't realize till you get out that you have been death threatened so many times. Your family's abandoned you. You're totally abandoned. I don't know why they call it shunning. But when you leave,
Right, exactly.
You're totally abandoned.
Exactly.
And guess what? You're alone in a world that is totally destructed. You have no legs under your table. Your God is gone. Your people is gone. You're totally on your own. And so, when I give talks, I tell people, hey, if you're thinking about leaving, it's probably going to be a lot bigger than you might imagine. Like, I couldn't imagine my mother disowning me. I really couldn't. I couldn't imagine it. When I looked in her face and she said, Jehovah, your dad would be ashamed of you because my dad had died. I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't even expecting to be shunned. So I'll tell people in my video, because a lot of these people that are thinking about leaving are listening to these videos. You got to tell them about the war, about, having an infrastructure, bridging out, making some friends.
Yeah.
You better have something. And I didn't. When I left,
Right.
I just turned in my letter. I saw how horrible they treated my ex-wife when she left. I said, my God, here's the realization that I got. I thought, so my wife got sideways with him, said a few words with him. They were done. They said, Dan, your wife has bitten the apple. In fact, she keeps eating the apple. In fact, she's got it in the refrigerator. And we'll be married in another year. And I'm going like this. I got 2 babies. What do you mean I'll be remarried in a year to another sister? They go, don't you see all the women in the hall? You'll be married in another year. Forget her. I got a new house. I got 2 children. But that's how dumb it is. And then when I saw my wife go out, I said, well, can she go with us to Applebee's so that we can talk to her? Oh, God, absolutely not. She's done. And then the neighbors ran in, and that's when I got the realization. I said, oh, my God. I said, you know what? They don't want us back. Right. They really don't want us back, because think about it. Who can really, very few people can really show up in the back of the Kingdom Hall for 2 to 10 years, write letters to them and beg them, because they always say you got to do more works that befit repentance. So it's almost impossible to get back. You've already breached, as far as from the top down. It's like you guys said earlier, I think it's like mafia. It's like from the top down, you've already breached the trust. So it's almost going to be impossible, and you're likely, if you get back, that you'll still be shunned.
Right.
You'll still be, won't be
oh, sure. Exactly.
Exactly. They look at you differently.
Dan, I appreciate the input, and I truly appreciate the way you articulate and relate the feelings involved, because it helps people to come to accept and acknowledge them faster. Because most people have a hard time acknowledging their own feelings, putting them into words, and then acting on them in an appropriate way.
I mean, the fortunate thing is, guys, I've been out, 23 years.
Yeah.
What's happened to me, though, is I got out, I got on my feet, got my head back together, got a career, got everything going. But when I saw my brother, my oldest brother, he was a presiding overseer. When I saw the mental illness setting in, I said, oh, my God, you guys, you killed my mother. They did. They killed her with shame. She was mentally ill at the end. She was in a mental hospital.
Wow.
And they were carrying her out in a gurney, and she was saying, Jehovah killed me. Because Watchtower put that in her head that if she didn't make meetings, that, she was going to die. So here she was mentally ill, looking me in the eye, crying while they're hauling her down a hallway, saying, Jehovah's going to kill me. Jehovah's going to kill me. And I went, oh, my God. And then my brother, I saw him, and he's like, Jehovah's going to kill you. Jehovah's going to kill you. Jehovah's going to. And then when I saw my older brother, I said, Doug, would you please meet me? Would you please see me? He looked so mentally ill, didn't he, Angela? He couldn't look me in the eye. He was staring down. I kept saying, Doug, look at me, look at me. And my heart broke. Now, here's what bothers me right now. Now they're asking for money. So not only have they sold us, my brother has nobody to visit him in his place where he's at. My oldest brother is almost like a vegetable. And now you know what they're going to do, guys? And I have to watch it. They're going to steal him blind. They're going to steal him blind.
This is the society.
Yeah. He sued a hospital. Yeah, he sued a hospital. They killed 2 of his kids. He's got a lot of money. He's built a lot of homes. And I know that Watchtower is going to grab everything, and I can't do nothing about it because he's under mind control. So it breaks my heart when I watch Stephen Lett and those guys, so abusive, so mind controlling, so cunning, so heartless, reading teleprompters, not talking from their heart. I'm like, this is completely sickening. And then to see them on jw.org that looks like any worldly TV evangelist, I'm like throwing up, asking for money. That was one of our bragging rights. We don't pass the plate,
Right.
I know. Well, look, Dan, obviously, it's a very, very well contrived agenda and plan. Very well.
Yes.
With tremendous power behind it. Tremendous power.
And I have to agree with you. They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
That, but on top, those big dogs on the top, they have seen false prophecy after false prophecy. So me, I'm like, repent. I'm like, you guys turn around. Come on. You don't have to. You don't have to,
no, they don't.
Have to go down the road with the elders.
No, they're the apostates.
You know what?
They're the apostates.
How I just feel so much like I wish there was a good, healthy hotline. I think there used to be one that was like for this situation where you want to commit suicide, but I don't know that it's still in existence. And I seem to remember that when I did investigate it a long time ago, because I wanted to know all the resources that were available for Jehovah's Witnesses. And actually, I did put together a really, really great list. It's on Dan's website called prodigaljourneys.com. prodigaljourneys.com. There's a great resource list of different places that you can get help from, a big, huge list. And it seemed like there was a hotline on there, but I just seem to remember when I called them, I think that they were like pushing Christianity really hard. And for those people who are really not wanting to go down that road yet, they just want to break, that's not really a good place to send them to. But there's other great hotlines for suicidal type tendencies and fears, but people need to be heard. And I know another thing that lady said in the suicide class was that people just need to have you listen without judgment or arguing with them, and then to express empathy to the person and their situation, and do as much validating as you possibly can, explaining that you understand, this is painful for them, and just be a good listener, because a lot of times people just need to be heard. They just need to be validated. It's really not a whole lot. They just need to know that there's somebody who thinks that they matter, that they're even that they know that they're suffering. Just be heard.
We just need to be a helpful community. And see, I mean, we don't need. How do I want to say this? Someone mentioned something the other day about getting the right answers, and I said I'd rather know the right questions rather than wrong answers, Because in all likelihood, any answers you get are probably going to be wrong. They're just probably going to be wrong, because it's just the way things go. But if we keep searching for the right, with the right questions, yeah.
Hello, Joe. Hello, Fran.
Hello.
This is Rick Farron here at the control panel. I guess we're going to have to probably wrap this up. We got Gail in the wings here waiting to come in. So maybe we can take a couple more minutes and just go ahead and wrap it all up and do your final word. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I just want to thank everyone who's involved here, Gail and Angela and Dan and Guy and there was the other brother, Mike. I'm not sure who it was from Rhode Island.
Yeah, and then
and someone. And Roland.
Yes, thank you for all.
And whoever we didn't mention, thank you all. You're dear friends, and we.
If you want to get in touch with us.
Yeah, Rick's got our number. I'll give you our number right now if you want. 315-221-0130. That's 315-221-0130.
We're right in central New York, so if you're calling on the West Coast, we're usually in bed around 11 o'clock. But otherwise, call anytime. Feel free to call. We've been having a lot of nice discussions. We've met a lot of nice people, and we look forward to talking to you. Don't hesitate to call. Please, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Well, very good program. Lots of participation. Joe and Fran, thank you very much for coming in and doing your program tonight. Suicide prevalent in the Watchtower, how to avoid it. We'll be hearing more from Joe and Fran and the up and coming weeks here coming up on the 6 screens. They're doing a great job.
Excuse me, Rick. If I can just mention, if
Sure.
anyone wants any apostate cookies, let us know. We have some for them.
All right, you got the number if you're looking for those apostate cookies. Well, go ahead, and he gave the number, but if you want to get a hold of me at JW World News, I'll put you in touch with Joe and Fran. JWWorldNews@gmail.com. Write me and I'll put you in touch with them. All right, well, anyways, we're going to be ending this program. We're going to Gail. She's down there in Houston, Texas. She's going to be coming on here live in just about a minute or so, but we want to... Guy, hold on. Guy, listen. Listen, I want you to try to just behave yourself a little bit. All right?
Sorry.
I mean, we got to...
I have been paying attention to the whole thing, and I'm deeper and deep thoughts. I am connecting the dots as someone with autism.
I understand. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's a tough thing for you. But, we want you to... we love to hear from you, but you got to kind of work in sequence. You got to, when you come in, I want you to keep things relevant. I want you to be able to, let others speak up too, but we don't mind you coming in, and it's good to hear from you. But, try not to, just jump right in and watch your telephone too. When you're always done, while I'm talking to you now, you can help me out a lot. When you're done talking, you hit *6 because, I have to keep watching. There's a lot of noise that comes in when people leave their phones unmuted. So could you do that for me in the future?
I will be more careful.
All right, thank you.
Pay more attention.
All right, Guy. Well, thank you. So we're gonna be going to the next program now. But did you want something to say quickly before we leave, or what?
Yeah. If you watch A&E's biography of the Millennium, and if you're into history, you would understand. You would understand the way I think in history and the Bible prophecies and all of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll give it a thought to do that. All right, Guy. Well, listen, you hang in there. We got more programming to go tonight, so make sure you hit *6 now when you're done talking. Okay. Thank you. All righty, we're going to be ending this program. We're now going to be going to Gail after the storm. She's coming in from Houston, Texas. So stay with us. This program is going to end, but we'll be right back on YouTube.